Hi, welcome back to American Government for week 4. This week we have things set up a little differently. We're going to start exploring social movements, and a big part of this class that I wanted to get across is that American government is much more than the structure that we think is in place, where we have, our Congress and our president. The truth is there's a lot more to our system than just the politics that you think of when you vote. There's also social movements. There's political participation through communication, so through writing letters to the editor or from having simple communications with your neighbors about politics. And so this week we're going to get into that a little bit. And as we get to week 4, I'm going to go through how we have this set up. So last week you ended by discussing two sides of the First Amendment, and what you're going to do is you're going to do a final analysis. So I want you to read other people's comments on both the yes and no for the free speech, and then you're going to do a post on your final analysis of that. So this week you're just going to do 3 posts. One will be your initial final analysis, and then you're going to communicate with each other about your final analysis. A big thing about this, I don't want you to think you necessarily have to always argue with each other. If you find something you don't agree with, you can ask questions, or you can move on to the next person and find things you agree with. It's totally up to you. But politics isn't always about fighting, and a lot of people think, I'm taking an American government class, I should argue with people who have opposing views of mine. You can, but that's not necessarily what you need to do. And there's a lot of people who understand politics very well and never do that. They never really argue with people. They'll state their side and they'll listen to other people's discussions. And it makes life a lot easier when people start doing that. So I want you to kind of get into that frame of mind with this class. Like I said, you can go ahead and disagree with each other. That's fine, but you don't have to. So don't feel obligated to argue. So there's going to be 3 posts. So one will be basically your first analysis, and then log on to it 2 other days and just weigh in on other people's analysis. There's a political scientist out of Yale, and he points out that the least interesting thing about somebody is their political affiliation. So if you walk into a room and someone says, I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat, that's usually the least interesting thing about them. Usually something more interesting is something that they actually have a conviction about. So maybe a policy that they feel strongly about. So it's nice to think about things that way. Then we're going to go to a political compass. There's a thing called political compass. So this is where you get to analyze your political ideology. And there's 4 questions with this. So you're going to first identify what you think your ideology is. And then you go to politicalcompass.org and take their basic test. It's a multiple choice test. And then it will put you on a grid with other people who think along the lines that you think. And then you're going to analyze if your results match. Some people will. They'll know pretty well that, I'm a conservative or I'm a liberal, and they'll be able to pinpoint that beforehand. But it's interesting to find people who come in to this class thinking that they have one ideology. They take the compass test, and it shows that, no, maybe there's something a lot different. And so you're just going to go through this and answer these 4 questions. Then we have quiz 4 and 5 over in the 4th and 5th chapter, and the Constitution USA video. I have this set up a little different. I want to experiment a little bit. The first 2 videos, I had you watch the videos and answer questions as you went along. For this, I'm going to trust that you watch the whole video, and then I want you to write a 1.5-page summary of the Constitution USA created equal video. Include a final analysis of what he says at the end, And then we have a week 4 discussion. There's 2 questions. One, there's a short video from Toby Chow talking about social movements. I want you to listen to this video, and then I want you to identify a social movement that you personally would support. And, there's social movements on either side. So, there's social movements for the right and the left. 2 easy examples would be the Tea Party, and, for the left, you could look at, Occupy Wall Street. They're both very different, but they do have some similarities. So I want you to watch this, then think of a social movement that you personally support, and discuss why you would support this movement and your level of commitment to it. And people have different levels. Some people don't care very much, and that's fine. If they have a small interest, say I have a small interest. Some people feel really strongly. In Toby Chow's lecture, he talks about the civil rights movement. In that movement, you had people who were involved in it who were willing to get beaten up, and risk physical injury or even death to show their support. So I want you, like I said, to identify a movement that you can get behind, and then discuss your level of commitment to that movement. And then the next one is you're going to just do an initial post on the Constitution USA video, a main takeaway that you have from that video. Again, everybody should have something slightly different, but you're going to go ahead and post that, and just the initial posts are due on that. And then I went ahead and I put things out so you can go forward a little bit. There's a letter to the editor assignment that I have in the syllabus is due June 9th. That's a Friday, so I'm changing that to June 11th. This is a letter to the editor. It's a very simple letter. You can look at any newspaper and read these, and these are a way people are involved with politics by writing their views on something. You write this, turn it into me on the Dropbox. If you want extra credit, you can go ahead and get this published. It's not very hard, and every semester I have between 15 and 25% of my students get these published. If you do so, I'll give you extra credit. We can go ahead and let the whole class read it if you want, and it's pretty cool to see. Last semester, when we just ended, I had 15% of the students complete it. The prior semester, I had 25% of the students get theirs done. And so, like I said, it's a way to get extra credit in this class. And then if you're a little ahead of the ball, you get this all done, you can go ahead and move on to the Dropbox that's due next week as well. So this Constitution USA Built to Last, again, you're going to write a 1.5 page summary of that one. I want you to have a final conclusion to that, so I want you to discuss, the whole video. So, again, I'm taking away the idea of having you answer 10 individual questions. Just write a 1.5 page summary of the video, and think of something that you get from it. So again, these two, the letter to the editor and the Constitution USA Built to Last Dropbox, the fourth one, are due the following week. I'm just putting these ahead because this is a very short class. It's only 8 weeks. I want you to have the ability to jump ahead a little bit, and that way you're not bogged down at the end. I also know I have a lot of dual credit students in this class who just finished high school, so you probably have a little extra time after this week to go ahead and move along. And I'd like to see you do that. Maybe free up some time. If you have any questions, make sure you send me an email. I check the D2L email much more frequently, so I have some emails that get sent to me on the regular BH email that's checked less frequently by me. So go ahead and check on here and send me an email, and I'll get back to you much more fast. So go ahead and enjoy your weekend and get a hold of me if you have any questions. Thank you.